all yours. All right, so last for the day, we have Nikolai with Star Trek and the Universe.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise on its 5-year mission to explore new worlds, to seek out new life and new expectations, and to boldly go where no man has gone before. So, those words, so timeless, and yet so true. Not many shows can encapsulate the entire meaning of their existence into one short paragraph, and for that matter, the existence of man itself. So the show tackled the big questions of the day, and many of you probably still have those questions in today's world. So what is beyond the final frontier? Well, the show was as much about space as it was about exploring the human soul as well. So I had the great pleasure of growing up with Star Trek as a child. And for about 15 years I've been watching it and deducing the significance of each episode and sort of the morals behind each episode. But it is apparent to me that not all of you watch Star Trek, and to that I say shame, shame upon all of you. But even in shaming you, I realize that this probably isn't enough to persuade you to watch Star Trek. So, to do that, I'll list 2 problems, tell you how Star Trek solved those problems, and then we'll go into the benefits of Star Trek solving those problems, and finally, we'll conclude with what you need to do in order to watch Star Trek. Can't lie with Uncle Sam. So what are some problems that plague our society today? Well, we live in turbulent times, and now more than ever, we crave meaning in our lives. And it's because we crave meaning that sometimes when we don't find meaning, we turn to nihilism. So what is nihilism? Nihilism is the belief that what you do or believe in has absolutely no bearing on the world around you. And so, in other words, there's really no point in existing or existence itself. Existence is futile. So, this is the direct result of people not adhering to a certain set of values. So according to Rebel Circus, today's youth is struggling with nihilism. And this is bad. This is very, okay. So, one of the bad things about nihilism is when you believe that you can't affect anything, then nothing you do matters, nothing you believe in matters, and so why do anything at all? And it's just not a very good way to live. So, our world is in constant turmoil, and unfortunately, the media does a great disservice by not going over the big problems of today. When is the last time you heard a show talk about the military buildup in the Asian Peninsula, the rise of nationalism in Europe, or the biological horror of the coy wolf? So, media does a great disservice by not asking the big questions. It treats its viewers as if they are too ignorant to make the real world connections to these weird real world problems. What do? We watch Star Trek. So we've laid out some problems. Now let's go into the solutions that Star Trek had for these problems. So as far as having purpose in this world, when we watch Star Trek, we realized that everyone on the Enterprise had a purpose. It was a diverse cast of many different types of ethnicities and people, and everybody was vital to the functioning of the Enterprise. According to a Wired News interview with Barack Obama, Star Trek showed a common humanity that we all shared. People overcame prejudice to achieve a common goal. And it helped promote good values. In Temple Grandin's book, Thinking in Pictures, she highlighted the fact that Star Trek always had a moral point that in each episode, and all the characters had moral ethics that they followed. So, we know that as a group, or as a crew on the Enterprise, that could make a difference, but what about just one individual person? So, Kirk was basically the main character of the show, and he showed us that one man can make a difference in the entire galaxy. Ooh, that's pretty impressive. So, how did he make this difference? Well, his command was based more off morals and ethics than it was supremacy. And we see this in the episode Arena, in which Kirk fights a ghastly lizard creature called a Gorn. And against all odds, Kirk actually wins against the foul creature. And when Kirk is given the chance to just kill the creature, he decides not to, because he realizes that both him and the Gorn are fighting over a big misunderstanding, and that it's not worth dying over. So it tackled real-world issues at the time, such as racism. In the episode Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, we see two aliens of the same species. However, if you notice closely, this guy is black on the right side, while this guy is white on the right side. But yet these two species come from the same planet, but they're separated on their planet by racism. Let's see how Star Trek tackled racism.
You carry justice on your tongues. You will think for it, but you won't fight or die for it.
After so many years of leading the fight, you seem very much alive.
I doubt that the same can be said for many of his followers.
You're finished, Lokai? Oh, we've got your kind penned in on Sharon into little districts, and it's not going to change. Comb the galaxy, come with nothing but monocolored trash, do-gooders, and bleeding hearts. You're dead. You have white. These pieces of bland flesh.
I'll take you with me, you have.
Deal. Keep this up, and you'll never get to Sharon with your prisoner. The ship will be irreparably damaged. This will be a final battlefield. Your 50,000 years of pursuit will have wasted. And you, Lokai, die here in space. You'll inspire no more disciples. Your cause will be ended.
Okay, so as we can tell, it had a lot of different ways to approaching moral problems. Special effects may be a little lax, but that was one of the few episodes that didn't end well. So I would highly encourage watching it because it's sort of an allegory for civil rights in the 60s, and it has some application even now. So, despite all these good messages, there are still some excuses that I keep hearing for people not wanting to watch Star Trek. So, one of these excuses is, I can't understand science. To that, I'd say, well, have you seen The Lord of the Rings? Have you seen Harry Potter? Did you understand the magic? Of course not. The movies weren't about magic. They were about the quests or morals and ethics that the characters had to overcome, and the science and the magic was more or less just a means to help the characters in their quest. So, another thing is, where do we find it? So on cable, you can find it on the BBC network, the MeTV network, and if you don't like cable or refuse watching cable, you can find it on Netflix. You can also, according to Amazon, buy the DVDs for a little under $50, but if you're a true Trekkie, the price is just perfect. So. All right. So, there are some benefits to watching Star Trek. For example, it will boost your self-esteem. When you watch the episode, you'll notice that almost all the parties in the episode are better off in the end than when they started out in the beginning, which means that victory doesn't always have to be a zero-sum game. Everybody can benefit from winning. It also boosts our self-actualization in that when we watch the characters become the best they can be, we too will want to strive to be the best that we can be. So, of course, there are consequences to not watching Star Trek. If you don't watch Star Trek, your life will be plagued with nihilism, which can lead to which can lead to depression and even thoughts of suicide. You will have problems dealing with people you differ with. One of the things Star Trek always taught is how to converse and treat people that you have a big difference with. And you will not be following in the footsteps of great thinkers, such as Neil deGrasse Tyson and Barack Obama, who both watched Star Trek. Well, while my mission can't go on for 5 years, I guess I'll have to end it here. You should watch Star Trek. There is no logical reason why you shouldn't. So go out there today and watch an episode of Star Trek. You'll come back with a greater sense of meaning, and you'll probably learn something too. And it's funny to watch Kirk get foam rocks thrown at him. So, thank you.
Nice job. Questions?
Okay, Jamie.
Original series or next gen?
Ooh, original series.
Between every single Star Trek episode ever made, how many
I don't know that. All I know.
You're not a Trekkie.
Is there a reason you're wearing a red shirt today?
Oh, I forgot to mention that. Yes, I'm wearing a red shirt, so